With both Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu being restricted free agents, should the Bulls bring Coby, Ayo, or both back? We'll talk about it right after this. Now, listen, if you're new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe. It's your boy P Kid with the Windy City Breeze. Talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. You know what the deal is. Let's get to the video, man. Ayo Dosunmu, Coby White, both are 23 years young, and both are restricted agents, free agents for the Chicago Bulls. Now, with us having so many ups and downs this season, also having inconsistent play at the point guard position, needing some knockdown shooters, not really knowing where we're going to get that type of production from outside of Zach, DeMar, and Vooch. It's been kind of this up and down battle where it's like, who do we trust? Who do you put in? Who do you give that opportunity to? And both of these players have had some successes and some falters. We'll talk about this a little more deeply. However, I just want to get this out the way because this is why you came. For those who've been a P1 for a long time, you've already know anytime Coby White comes up, they just assume I have instant smoke for him. I don't. He's improved how he looks on the floor. He's gotten more confident with the rock. I liked his improvements. However, sometimes it's too little too late in some instances. For me, just to be blunt, Ayo Dosunmu was the better pick. Not only does, well, money wise, not only that do I think it's actually more favorable, but at the end of the day, I also look at what Ayo, both of them being 23, what Ayo has done for our particular team, what he was tasked with. Coby White was never tasked with guarding the next team's, other team's best player. Ayo at times was tasked with guarding the other team's best guard, legitimately. There was during his rookie season, especially, he was tasked with being that guy, and guess what? He did a good job. He actually served the same role that P. Will kind of served when P. Will was always stuck on the other team's best player, i.e., him facing off against LeBron, him facing off against Giannis. Well, Ayo had the same type of situation. Now, the results were kind of varied, but Ayo at one point proved to be one of the best defensive on-ball defenders at one point during his rookie campaign. Now, his sophomore season, not so much, but everyone kind of anticipated a sophomore slump, if that's what you would like to call it. However, Coby White, in so many respects, was quite the opposite. Again, never really tasked with that, and when he was, he got cooked. He was tasked with making shots. And if you look at it, while he shot better last season, he also took less attempts. And there's a direct correlation between the more minutes and attempts he gets, the more inefficient he looks, and the more inefficient that he is. Now, I know that if you look at it, you put it in a vacuum, that kind of makes sense. This is one of those statements where men lie, women lie, numbers don't, but it doesn't always tell the truth. The numbers really do kind of look that way if you go from top to bottom. However, it doesn't figure in the fact that, yeah, he got to that position to be on the bench because of inconsistent play. However, this is the first time he had an off season, so you really can't really grade it as toughly. However, when it comes to re-signing and stuff like that, it is a what have you done for me league. So you only have the statistics that you go off of to figure out whether or not you extend that particular player. And for me, if we're in a situation where we're trying to find room to bring back Vooch, which I think we should, if we're going to keep DeMar, which if there's no, like, I don't give him up for nothing. Like, realistically, if there's nothing else there, like, let's not just make trades to be making trades. Like, if we're trying to find room of who to keep and stuff like that, I gotta be honest with you. It don't look too good if I'm the Bulls hit front office and re-signing Coby White. It's just been too streaky. You know, I cooked RJ Barrett for how streaky he was, and he played starter minutes. Well, guess what? Coby White is the same player, maybe even a little more inefficient in some instances, but definitely a worse defender. You know, and so when I look at it, if we have to make the decision as to who we bring back, I think Ayo has the higher ceiling. Now, everyone's going to sit there and say, well, Coby was younger, this, that, and the other. I get it. But Coby has more NBA experience. Coby has more professional experience. Coby should look better. And right now, I'm having a conversation with someone who had more seasons under his belt as if they're on the same plane. The simple fact that that conversation can be had shows you who you need to be rolling with. It doesn't. It's emotions aside. It shows you who you need to be rolling with. This player with one less season or two less seasons, whatever the case may be. I think it's two. I could be wrong. Could be one, but it's still a season less. Is in the same plane with it, and he's more efficient. Now, Ayo does not take the same amount of threes. However, if you look at Ayo stats, he's teetering around 50% from the field. Coby White ain't never shot near 50% from the field. And when I mean not never, not never. Like, it's not even funny. And that's and all Coby don't always just shoot threes, right? So we can't just use that. Because if he was just solely a corner shooter, guess what? I totally get it. Spot up shooter, like a Duncan Robinson type. You shooting 40% from the field, but you 39% from three, and that's pretty much all you take. Like, you take 8 shots, but 7 of them are threes. I can live with that. You're a 3-point shooter, a good 3-point shooter in today's league. It's 38 and above. That's a really, really good 3-point shooter. That's not Kobe's game. He can shoot threes. He does take threes, but that's not just like he's not a spot up shooter. So I can't make that excuse for him. Coby hasn't proved to be efficient. Ayo, we want him to take more threes. However, he does put the ball on the floor. He does get to the rim and stuff like that. And even like we maximize for both players, and not just Ayo, but for both players, because they play less minutes than our starters, or they play less minutes than our big three rather. When they don't make a shot, it looks so much bigger. It's magnified. We hone in on it. So when Ayo goes up for, he's coming down on a break, got 2 defenders on him. He's trying to get to this lay, and it goes off the backboard because he didn't slow down. That momentum is carrying him over. It's like, oh man, he smoked the layup. It's like, man, it was a tough angle. He tried to take it, made a play, didn't work. Like, DeMar got a couple of those. Zach got a couple of those. Like, Vooch got plenty of them. Like, it happens. But because this is one of his 6, 7 shots that he got that game, it looks so much bigger because he ain't taking 15, 17, 18 shots. So I don't want to put that there, but just looking at the shots that he does get, he's nearly 50%. Ayo, I'm speaking of. I got to roll with it. I got to roll and see what that kid can do. The better defender, I think a better playmaker. I saw Ayo dotting up Vooch, getting that pick and roll going, stuff like that. I'm not saying Coby didn't do it. I'm just saying that Ayo, for his efficiency, on ball guarding, on the defensive end, his playmaking ability, especially if you go back to what he did in college as a combo guard, like I think that it's just a better fit, and he's just more prepared for the opportunity. Now, if you all want to say anything, maybe college did prepare him more for that. That is still not his fault. And that still does not matter when we're talking about preparation and getting ready to be signed or re-signed or whatever the case may be. I can't sit there and say, well, oh, he just spent the college, so of course he's going to look better. No ish, Sherlock. But that's not Ayo's fault. It's just not. It's not. When you go for a job interview, and the next person went to a better school than you, even if you have more work experience, and they tend to go with the person who was more prepared for that particular role, you can't say anything because guess what? The organization chose the person who went to the school that prepared them for it. It is what it is. Like it's just like put yourself in a real life situation. It just is what it is. You can't make excuses for it. You just move on to the next opportunity. I'm not going to make excuses for Coby White because, in my opinion, with more work experience, he shouldn't be in the conversation with Ayo. With more professional experience, he shouldn't be in the conversation. He just shouldn't. And I know a lot of you are going to disagree, and I want to hear your thoughts, man. I want to hear what you think in the comments about these particular two. I'm making this video because, again, I've made a video about who could help us while also, looking at some opportunity elsewhere, maybe some particular trades. But I never really made a video about these particular players. And so now I want to make sure that these particular players, we get this out the way quick because they're both restricted free agents. But at the same time, I also want to give them a grade. If I had to grade last season, I say Ayo gets a C+, and I think Coby White gets a C. Mainly because I expected more from Coby White. And I know that he looked better with the ball. But to me, him looking better with the ball last season compared to the 3 other seasons is like, okay, you're fine, you're back to where you should have been. In fact, if I look at his ball handling ability and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, now we're back in the same, like you're in a conversation, because I think Ayo has had a tighter handle for up until that point. When I look at streakiness, I look at his shooting ability, stuff like that. Again, I just expected more from Coby. I did. And I didn't see much more outside of the fact that he just looked more confident on the court. I didn't see much more outside of that. And frankly, based off the minutes he got played, Billy didn't either. Ayo, I gave him a C plus because I had higher expectations from him as well. He had a really good rookie season, especially where he was drafted and stuff like that. I thought it was a steal. He had a really good rookie season. He did taper off. He didn't look as efficient. He didn't look as comfortable and things of that nature. And some of that does have to do with Billy. Some of that does have to do with those different lineups and stuff like that. A lot of, like, I'm giving credit. I'm factoring that in for both players. I'm not just cooking one and not like factoring, like, no, I'm being very fair. Billy does play a part in how they were utilized, but the simple fact that Billy went with Ayo a little more in some cases, I just got to give it to him. The fact that Ayo, like, we can sit there and say Ayo regressed a little bit, had that sophomore slump. He still looked better than Coby. That's why you would give him that opportunity, that nod, not just the money alone. And I know this is a tough video to say because guess what? It's like, man, we keep passing up on these players who, maybe if we developed them more a little bit like that. And I look at Coby White, I say Coby White is not Laurie Marketing. Laurie Marketing came out and gave you 18 and practically 18 and 10. Coby White ain't been close. Like he ain't been close. He gave you better production. He just wasn't really healthy. Like, he missed 20 games here, 30 games there. But he gave you better production. Even one of the Laurie Markkinen's worst seasons for the Chicago Bulls is comparable to Coby White's best. That's a different scenario. So I don't want to put, like, we will regret that particular trade for sure. I think we already do. But I don't think letting Coby White go or letting him go to another opportunity where he can get a starting role, because I do feel like he could start somewhere. I do feel like he has that opportunity. But compared to Ayo, compared to some of the other people who are maybe in free agency, and what we need in this team, I don't know if he does that here. If he was a more efficient three-point shooter, I would say so. And it's tough to say because he had one of his best seasons from three. I think it's like 36, 37%. His best season from three. I have to give it to him. But he was used so he could only get in the game so much because of all the other deficiencies, in my opinion. It was just like, I can't be, if you look at some of the plus minus, it just didn't work out. So I think that ultimately rolling with Ayo was the best thing. Just to wrap this up and with a nice little bow, I think Ayo was the better option. I think that Ayo is going to be one of those fixtures on this particular team, and he still has that dog mentality. And I think that that ultimately will work better. This also brings up the question that if you bring back Ayo, why the heck did we draft Dalen Terry? Like, what is he gonna do? Is Dalen Terry like the point? Like, what is he gonna do? How are we gonna utilize that? That's something we're gonna bring up in the next video, man. We're gonna go through a rundown of everyone on this particular team, who we should bring back, who we shouldn't, who we should be utilizing. Hey, where's Marco? Like, we're gonna do all that, right? So stay tuned for that, man. We got a long off season ahead of us, but we're gonna make sure we keep it entertaining. It's your boy P Kid. I'm out.